How's it going? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT, and we're back with another live stream. Today we're having a look at the Tonverk, and I want to discuss a little bit about how the Tonverk operates as a drum machine. I know for a fact that the intention of the Tonverk, let's take a look at it real quick. The intention of the Tonverk is not to be a drum machine. This is not meant to be a drum machine. It does have some supplemental features, and it does have a lot of the features from the Digitact, which make it stand out a bit as a drum machine, even though I have spoken with Electron myself, and they have told me directly, it is not a drum machine. It does have the ability, of course, to play drums, and it sounds fantastic, and you can write full tracks on here. So it's a groove box, yes, but the Digitact really lends itself to being a drum machine, right? The Rhythm really lends itself to being a drum machine. A TR-1000 is a drum machine. Like when you think of those machines, it's hard to interpret them in any other fashion as anything other than a drum machine, meant to provide rhythm and kind of meant for you to write your entire track on the device. I will say, I do see the Tonverk as a groove box. This is a standalone groove box that has a really strong focus on melodics. And what I mean by that is that it has a lot of features that will help you write chord progressions, longer songs, because it has 16 pages, and the sound quality and the experimental features really lend itself to throwing in stuff that has melodic content. Lots of notes and chord progressions and swells. There's lots of delays and reverb types and all this stuff. While all those things are fantastic on drums, they're really, really fantastic on synthesizer type sounds or acoustic instruments, and all of that can be done in the Tonverk. So to me, it's not really a drum machine, but can it be? So what I've done is I've loaded up an entire pack of one-shots into the Tonverk, and I'm going to talk about different ways that you can use the Tonverk and just a little bit of the exploration that I've had with the device. And while this still continues to be one of my less explored Electron devices, considering how new it is, and how different it is from my existing lineup, even though they did add a lot of features that make it quite similar to the Digitact 2 and the Digatone 2, such as these beautiful pattern mutes, which I love deeply, and I like the way that it expresses how you can change the pattern mutes. It's really lending itself to becoming a device that I could see fitting in with my other devices, or with my Digitact 2 and my Digatone 2 specifically, because I really needed this feature to be added. So I loaded up a one-shot pack called Every Single One Shot by, I think it's either a producer or just a company called SampleStar. So shout out to SampleStar. I did buy this pack. That wasn't gifted to me or anything. This is a pack that I've had for years. Been using this pack forever. And there's actually another pack that I wish I could have found on my computer before I started the stream that I wanted to load into it that has these punchier drums that I really like to use. But what's great about this pack, the SampleStar pack, is that it's full of chords. It has chords and synths and all sorts of stuff like that. So we can make some house or deep house or dub techno or techno on here as we're exploring this as more of a drum machine. Now, there was already a standout comment in the comment section. Let's jump over there really quick. In the comment section, by Calderwood, who also said cracks bubbly and cheers, sponsored me, LaCroix, please, for the love of God. I've been asking for years. Says the answer is yes if you're willing to use multiple tracks. And I have to agree with that comment. The answer is yes if you're willing to use multiple tracks. And let's talk about that. What does that mean and why is that important? Let's jump over to the Tonverk really quick. I'm actually going to start a brand new project because I don't want to have any preloaded files. So I'm going to go in the file section. That's function file. There's some different movements you have to learn on here compared to the other boxes. It's just a little bit different. So it can be a little strange at first if you're coming from the workflow of a Digitact or a Digatone over to the Tonverk. Things are in different places, animations are a little bit different, and file structure is a little bit different. In fact, it even lets you, if you go into your sample section, you can just explore and see files that actually you can't even use, like this indexer volume guide. That's not something that I can use. So it actually lets you explore the compact flash on here, or the SD card, I'm sorry, like completely. So it's a different thing. There's not the rails aren't on here in every aspect compared to the other boxes. Okay, so I'm gonna go into a new project, this function file, we're gonna go up to project, I'm gonna go new. Usually you would go to load and it would say create new, so this is also different. Discard changes and exceptional flex, I didn't come up with that name, come on. Even though I do have an exceptional flex, there's no doubt. All right, so now we've got nothing going on. And so something to note about Tonverk too, we're gonna tell, this is Electron Talk. This is kind of a very electron-centered channel with a ton of discussion, and we don't just make music. We talk about making music. We talk about gear. And something I do want to mention is that unlike the other devices in that it's similar form factor, similar aesthetic, pattern mutes, Dig-Attack, Dig-A-Tone, Syntact even, and Rhythm and Analog 4, this device is definitely far more closer to the Octatrack in the way that it expects you to think. So it, like the Octatrack, which can be a great drum machine, the Tonverk can be a drum machine, but neither of them, I would say, are like exceptional for drums, but they can both do it really well, but their purpose isn't necessarily drums. Their purpose is to make songs and to process audio. Both the Octatrack and the Tonverk are like that. Their purpose is to make music, of course, like any other box, but some things are really tailored just for percussive and rhythm. And one of the things this doesn't do for you is prepare you for anything. None of the tracks are assigned to anything special in particular. They're all set up as a single player, which is essentially the closest thing that you're gonna get to the Dig-Attack. So the Dig-Attack, when you boot up a Dig-Attack, it's also assigned to a single player, all of the tracks, just like Tonverk, except for there's default sounds assigned to those tracks on a Dig-Attack. So when you load up a Dig-Attack project, you could technically just start making music like that. That's not the case on the Tonverk. When you load up the Tonverk, it doesn't make sound. You need to know how to use this machine. This is not a device that is going to hold your hand through this process. You have to figure out what you're going to do with this device, which is kind of also the reason why we're going to talk about this as a drum machine, is because it can be a drum machine, and perhaps it is a great drum machine. Perhaps it is the best. We don't truly know, even though I know that this thing is centered on melodics. Sometimes there's experiments that turn into something way cooler than they intended, and I don't think Electron even knows yet. I know that they coded this and they made this device, but I don't think they truly know, neither do I, how good this is as a drum machine, because it just hasn't been around long enough for us to figure that out. But I just want to mention, it doesn't hold your hand at all. We have nothing going on here. If we even want to audition things, we want to go function source and, well, actually, we have to go into our sample section to start auditioning. We could also go down here, just like so. Let's make some comparisons really quick to the Dig-Attack. For Dig-Attack users, you're picking up a Tonverk, say you wanted to start making a beat. You could just go straight to your single player machine. I was going a weird direction there for a second, so ignore what I was saying from a moment ago. Say you wanted to start just making a drum pattern. Well, it's something simple. You want to get a kick drum, you could just go right straight to one of your tracks, 1 through 8. These are going to be your sample tracks. And you could, just like on the Dig-Attack, grab your D encoder, same encoder even, and it looks the same. And you could go in, hit yes, and start navigating your samples. I could go into my single samples, and there's the essential one-shot collection. And I could pick any of these folders, and there's tons of samples inside these folders. So if I want to get these deep melodic and I want to get a drum hit, let's get some kicks. Function yes. To audition, just like the Dig-Attack. Not hitting a trig, this isn't auditioning my track for me, even though I am on that track. All right, let's just grab this drum. So this isn't where you would grab multiple drums. This is where you would grab a drum. So once you've selected that, you could go back into your source machine. You could go and start doing the next one if you wanted, kind of like the Octatrack, actually. If you approach it in this manner, the Octatrack is extremely similar. On the Octatrack, you need to load up your sample slots with samples if you want to make music. It's not the kind of device that you load kits on. It has parts, but this, you know, also similarly, you're going to want to like load this whole thing up with a bunch of samples to make music or start sampling. So we can get a kick here. Maybe we can go in and grab another sample really quick. Back to single samples. I kind of wish it would just take me back to the folder I was in. And Let's get a clap. Yeah. Okay. Actually, I'll take that one. So I just reassigned my main sample to that clap. You can see there's multiple waves. This is another thing for us to discuss already. This is, we're gonna go over to this kick drum, but this is an important thing for you to pay attention to. This, by default, assumes you're loading melody, melodic content, synthesizer sounds, notes, chord stabs, textures. It assumes that, and that is why these kick drums are playing polyphonically. You can see there's multiple lines going. If this kick drum was really long, we would hear these kick drums pile on top of each other because there's polyphony. So what we want to do is go function trig, and we want to actually turn off the polyphonic play mode and set this to mono. Now we get a single line because it's only playing the sample once, and if I had another sample, it would cut that off. And that's actually what we want. We don't want to have overlapping kick drums. We don't want to have overlapping hi-hats or overlapping snares because it would sound insane. I'm sure there's, in some cases, this is useful. There is one case, so this is a good topic for this drum machine thing. And we're gonna kind of like pit subtracks against one-shot machines and discuss this. And I'm also going to discuss how multi-sampled machines would actually be amazing on here for drums. Let's just start that discussion right now, actually. So say I wanted to have use these one-shot machines, and I do personally think the one-shot machines are the best machine for drums. I think that you could have a hi-hat track, and we could have a ride and a hi-hat on that track, and you could make it so that track is polyphonic, or you could have all your drums on one track, kick, snare, and hats, and you could make it so that track is polyphonic, and you could actually have your hi-hats play on top of your snares because it's polyphonic, or you could have a cymbal crash that will play over your drums on that track. So there's really clever ways that you could utilize these tracks and get the most out of the machine because the tracks are polyphonic as a drum machine, which is not something you expect from a drum machine, is that tracks would be polyphonic. And we're gonna go really deep on comparing these to subtracks soon, but I also want to make mention of this just before I forget about it, is that if you were to take a multi-sample drum, like a multi-sample drum kit, and bring it in here and use the multi-sample player, you could essentially have all the notes playable on this machine assigned to different drums, or tons of different drum kits, and you could load up a multi-sample drum kit and even have velocity layers on those individual drums. So you could have, like, you know, softer hits on a snare and harder hits on a snare based on the velocity, which would sound amazing, right? That would actually sound better than any other drum machine that we have from Electron. So I think there really is this like really cool potential for this to be a great drum machine. And like I said, it's kind of unexplored territory as a drum machine specifically. It's definitely becoming explored deeply as a groove box and as a synthesizer or just a polyphonic music melodic maker, I guess is the best way I could put it. Okay, so I want to make like a housey type jam on here. And so I'm going to get like, you know, just like a chord stab going on another track. So I'm going to use the first 4 tracks, at least the first 4, if not the first 6 even, as drum tracks. And the reason why I want to use track 1 as a kick drum, which is, I think, pretty natural for all of us, is that I do want to use sidechain. And we do have the option to make a sidechain bus because we can put a compressor on our buses and we can have the compressor listen to our kick drum. Now, something that I really like to do, like if I just throw this down really quick, something I really like to do on the Digitacts and Digatone is I like to make a sidechain click, essentially, that goes into the compressor. I have so many tracks on those devices that that's okay for me to do, and I can give up a track for a click just to send to a compressor to create sidechain so that I don't actually have to target my kick drum as the sidechain. The Tonverk has less tracks. It's got a bajillion voices for us to play with, but because it has less tracks, I'm inclined not to do that. And it's better use for me to just target my actual kick drum and use the kick drum pattern itself, which I find I don't like that idea as much because I like putting accent kicks that don't trigger my sidechain, that don't trigger the sidechain in my compressor is what I mean to say. So those accent kicks are going to have to live on a different track, which is unfortunate, but still doable, completely doable. Okay, so let's just get like a little chord stab on one of these tracks just so I have something to listen to. Maybe I'll put it on 7 in case we want to use all these for drums. So I'm going to go in here. I am going to continue to use the single player machine because it is a polyphonic machine regardless. It's just not a multi-sample machine. And I want to grab just one of these fun little chord stabs, one-shot chords. God, I know these so well. Maybe not this one. I've played with those so many times. Synth one-shots. No, I want chords. Box hits? That could be kind of cool. Oh, I'm at the bottom. Let's get up here. One-shot samples. God. Oh, that's kind of nice. Okay, cool. That'd be fun to play with. Just kind of micro-time this over a little bit. Yeah, that feels better. Okay. We're getting a little pattern going. I could send this sample over to a bus if I wanted and start processing it with extra effects. I actually mentioned, I do want to talk about this because when I was in LA recently and I went to Buchla and Friends and I got to hang out with Electron quite a bit, Sweden Electron, and I got to have some really cool discussion with them and just, you know, telling them my thoughts on devices and listening to cool stories and stuff like that. And we were talking about the Tonverk, and I was talking about a feature that I want. Let me explain to you this feature that I want, and I just passed it along to them. I was like, what I want you to add to the Tonverk is something that I think would be really useful for users. And let's see what you guys think about this, because this is what I said to them. I said, I would love for the Tonverk, the buses, and these tracks to have an ability to link them together. So what would happen is that I would say like 6 and 9, instead of treating it as like a regular bus, I actually want to use 9 as more like a neighbor track that you would do on the Octatrack. So when I go to track, but even treat it different than a neighbor track, so that when I go to track 6 and I have it processing through 9, when I go into my step editor, the effects from the bus would be shown in the same place as the insert effects. That way those effects are just lined here and I can actually use the same track as a parameter lock for the effects. This was a feature request that I told them face-to-face directly. And I hope that it happens because I think it would be so useful to just be able to have more effects for us to parameter lock on your main track that you're putting your samples on. I think it would be cool. Just a linking tool. You don't have to do it, but can if you want. Okay. So that I just think that's a cool idea. So now I want to go over to track 2, which I'm going to have be my clap. So maybe I'll skip over that. I'm going to go to track 3. And we could use a subtrack here. And this is a spot where subtracks could actually be more useful than they are naturally to me as a user. So the thing about subtracks is subtracks give you a bunch of tracks to use where you can load multiple samples on it, and they're really easy to use. I can say create new, and I have an empty subtrack. If I want to load a sample on a subtrack, I just hold function and select a track, and it treats it like a one-shot. Each one has a filter, an amplifier, but what they don't have is their own effects, and they don't have their own modifiers. So all you get is access to is us playing with the pitch, the start position of the sample, a filter, and an amplifier, and panning. I guess you do get overdrive, so that's cool. On a per sample basis in your subtrack. So you get tons of tracks. Potentially, you could use all your tracks as subtracks, and you can have 64 samples or 64 tracks where you could do stuff. It's like an IDM dream machine. However, when you want to parameter lock a sound, like say you were going to actually load a kick, and goes back to the beginning of our stream where Calderwood mentioned, he goes, yes, this is a good drum machine if you were to use some of the tracks for one-shot machines, essentially. And that's, what I wanted to discuss. And the reason why this is important is that you don't, in my opinion, you actually, if you're going to make some serious like house or techno or I get even drum and bass production on here, if you're going to make some serious production like that, you honestly want to use a separate track for your kick. And you want to use a separate track for, I think, in my opinion, you want to use a separate track for every relevant element, that should be like somebody's music name. You want to use a separate track for every relevant element because during a performance, bringing in a new sound and having certain sounds have effects on them, like having one hat ring out with reverb, or having a clap that's got a massive reverb tail on it, or having your hi-hats only have delay on them, or your kick drum having a delay. You can't do that on a subtrack. If you load a subtrack and you put effects on your track, all of the effects will be processed through any hat, snare, or kick that is on your track. So you can't get surgical with it. You can get surgical with how the samples are displayed and how the samples run through your sequence and their overdrive and their pitch and all of that stuff, but not the effects. And I find that not very useful. So I think loading up a blank subtrack and being like, all right, this subtrack is my hi-hat track. Because if I have a closed hat and an open hat, the likelihood that my closed hat and my open hat are going to land on the same step is very slim, because that's not how a closed hat and an open hat works. And I like to respect my closed hat and open hat like that. So I think if I'm going to do this, maybe a subtrack is all one element. So if I get a subtrack, it's all kick drums. Or if I get a subtrack, it's all snares or hats or claps. That way I have this, this whole bunch of different samples to choose from right off the bat. And when I parameter lock a sound, I'm parameter locking that element, not necessarily the sample. I'm thinking about it as an element. And that means that those effects that get processed through it make sense according to your pattern. Hopefully you're following me here. And I think that makes sense. So I'm going to go here. I want to put a hi-hat down, and we will use the subtrack. So let's load a hi-hat onto one of these tracks. Let's go to user, single samples, and just go into one of these packs and find ourselves there's a nice one. Find ourselves a hat. Let's go over here and find ourselves another one. Wonder if I just switched over to, it says sub 1. So if I just switch over to, I shouldn't touch my screen because it makes these marks. But if I just switched over to a track, and I don't know if this works this way, if I sign one, will it go to sub 2? It will. Okay, this is awesome. This is actually really cool. This is a celebration, actually. A sip of coffee to celebrate. Okay, so when you're in a subtrack, you can quickly assign tons of the same category of sound. If I leave this folder, it will no longer apply. So it's actually designed in the exact way that I mentioned. This can function very well in the way that I just mentioned. I didn't know if it would, but it does. So now we can grab, okay, a new hat. Let's grab this hat, and we'll put it on subtrack 3. Okay, let's go here, and subtract 4. And so I can get a whole bunch of these hats, and now subtract 5. Now this subtrack has 5 different hi-hats. This is actually super sick. Let's put them down in our classic pattern, and then we'll kind of like, we'll mess with some of these hats. I want them all to be like monophonically. Let's have the littlest one be the odd time, and maybe we'll go like that. We want to like micro time this stuff. Let's bring this off the grid a bit, and maybe we'll put a second one down, shrink it a bit. Come here. This encoder's feel They just work differently. And we'll bring that off the grid too. That one's a little loud. So now I could actually go here and use my subtrack, the subtrack idea again. Let's put some reverb on this, on these chords real quick. What is our reverb? Oops, I don't want to do that. Let's go over here and check it out. What is our reverb? Should be on 15. Super void. All these different reverbs we have. The new one is steel box, right? Let's see how this one sounds. Make it big. You know, good amount of feedback. Love the animations. Really wide. Okay. Let's see how this sounds on our chord progression. Whew. Man, that sounds good. Is there like a... I don't want it to go... Let's change the end point of this sample. Okay. That's all I want. That's kind of cool. Okay, back to my hi-hat pattern. Let's give it some more juice. Will this overdrive apply? It is on a per. A little bit of saturation. All right, let's do what I like to do with a... Get that off the grid a little bit. This whole page changing system is still very foreign feeling. This needs to get off the grid too. There we go. Actually, let's use that again. Oh, definitely not there. I did like it there. What's interesting too is like that we do have this, you know, we have pattern mutes. There's so many features in this thing. It's kind of insane to wrap your head around sometimes. Let's make this like a 16th note pattern, but then we'll shut it way down. Okay, that's my overall track level. So this is something to remember. You want to use your volume. Okay, I don't like that. let's edit this delay because it sounds kind of weak sauce. There we go. Okay, now we need like we need some bass. But I also want to check on the chat really quick and talk about this as see how folks are feeling about this as like their drum machine, as their Dig Attack 2 replacement. Because it could be, if you wanted it to be, it doesn't have overbridge, but it does have more outputs, it has more effects, it has better sample rate, it has SD card, and it has subtracks, which could be used to do literally what I'm doing. But the Dig Attack has slicing, the Dig Attack has a time stretch engine, the Dig Attack has 16 tracks, and it has overbridge. So, you know, there's an argument to be made for why you would use this as a drum machine versus something like the Dig Attack. But let's get this cranking a little bit. I don't like this kick drum now that I've turned it up. Oh yeah. So when you go into this menu here and you go function yes, it should take you, there it goes, into the original folder. Further. Yeah, that's nice. Let's give it a trick edition. Alright, let's go into our snare track. And the question is, do I want to use a one shot or do I want to use a subtrack? And I kind of like, I mean, they're both gonna work in this scenario. I could use a subtrack and like do what we did before. We load up just a bunch of claps and clicks and snares if we even want. We can have them layered and we can go into the mute mode and unmute them. And it's actually a workflow that needs to be explored much further than we're even gonna have time to do today, because it's gonna take weeks and months for this to be like really ironed out mentally as a part of your workflow. Right now it's just what if scenarios, you know what I mean? But let's try just a one-shot machine first and just go in here and keep, so this is how I work on the Dig Attack. I would just go in and keep replacing sample slots and then just grind away. You have other options. You can go in here and you can go into this preset thing that doesn't audition, so I don't use it. I don't know why it's there. I don't understand its function, to be honest, because you can't hear it. So I'm just going to ignore it. You could also go into your sample section, function samples, and here you can, you know, grab like multiple samples, multiple drums if we wanted, right? So I could just do this and then go to the right arrow and load them all to my project and it will populate my sample window. This is exactly how it works on a Dig Attack. And this is what I recommend you do if you want to grab a bunch of sounds. Doesn't work for doing that with like subtracks though. I don't really want snares. I think I want a clap. Oh, these ones are stereo. I like that. I like the little clicky sounds. Load the project. All right. Those are in my project. Now I can just grab them here. Let's go to mute mode. Okay, let's do this. Oh, look, it says SBox. I didn't realize this. So it's actually telling you which effect you have in your send. That's really cool. I need something to clean this off. Does this clean stuff off? What is this? Looks like it would. Oh yeah. Wipes. No, I'm not gonna save those for later. Okay. So we have like a little we have a little something going. We have like these hats are this should be kind of interesting to you. This is a more complex hat pattern than you can get on a standard drum machine because we have multiple hats in this track, right? And they're microtimed off of each other but occupying the same spaces. Right? 3 is here, 3 is here. That's unique to Tonverk. This is kind of cool. So I think this is fun for me to personally. This is fun for me to explore because I'm learning what I would like to do with this box. Is it good as a drum machine? I don't know yet, but it's feeling like it can be. We haven't even started processing the effects. We've just changed out one of the sends. Okay, so I'm going back to this sample here. I want to play with. Yeah, it's so interesting. The sequence lane, I haven't really dove into that yet. The trig mode is just velocity and tracks right now. Okay, that's fine. The transform is a cool option. You could do this live. You know, you can actually transform your track live, and then you could do it while in perform kit mode. Maybe I haven't actually tested this. If you do perform kit and this kind of transform, will it revert? I don't know yet. We should probably find that out too. Maybe we'll copy this pattern and just try that really quick so I don't ruin what I've done. All right, I'm gonna go back over here to this hi-hat track and we will go into perform kit mode and we will transform with placement, randomize. Okay, now, oh, hey. We just unlocked a new performance feature. That's pretty cool. Okay. All right. Nice. Okay. Back to track 7. I do. You know what I really like about the multi-sample machine is that there's a vibrato and a vibrato speed control, and I just kind of wish that existed on all the machines. I don't care if it's got drums loaded in there or not, or if it's a one-shot player. Vibrato as a control is fantastic. I don't want to use an LFO for that if I don't have to. Let's kind of play with this pattern a little bit. The resonance is very strong in this filter. Maybe we add an effect on these chords. Something to give them some grit. That might be too much. Let's drive it really hard, but then reduce its output. Kind of cool, you can do that on a first step basis. are really long. I want all of these to be AHDs for my one-shots. Does sound kind of good on it. It's probably just the volume that I like, honestly, but whatever. It's worth messing with. Alright, let's get some bass in here. We'll put it on 6. Might as well mess with the multiplayer, right? I wish that would audition as I hit it. The default quarter note is just very telling about what they want you to do with this machine. Okay. I also want HD, just for the bass notes. Mono. I don't think I want that on my kick. Kind of simple, but let's add a little flavor. Hard to tell what page you're on. I do find that a little frustrating. I think this needs to light up when I hit the page button, and this should just light up page 1, page 2, page 3. I don't need little tiny dots. They're just too small. They're frustratingly small. I did tell this to Electron. but it's not frequently enough. I think I maybe need the first page. God, I can never tell what page I'm on. Maybe I need that like bass note to hit on the 1 here. What note did we use here? Let's get out of the step edit mode. So confusing. Go like down an octave. That's too low. But maybe we put a trigger condition so it only happens on the very first time I do it. Maybe we micro time it off the beat. Another sound on this track that's a similar sound. I think, you know, that we're just playing in C major because we're little babies right now, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. It's all right. Single samples. What's in here? Ooh, bass one shots? Maybe there were some better ones than... Actually, I want to hear this as I'm doing it. That's a nice sound. But we're making, you know, we're making house music right now. I don't know about that. Kind of want to do that, but I think I want to do it on another track. Let's go. Can we go? We can't do that? Okay, whatever. Okay. Oh, what folder was that even in? Why did I just leave the menu? God damn it. Okay, let's go over here. Let's go into our sample loader. Tired of messing around with this. Where was I? Watch chords? No. Watch chords? No. One shot samples? No. This is the folder I was just in? Yes. God, I really want that one I just had. Ooh. I hear something like that, it makes me just want to completely switch up the entire track. So I'm like, oh, that sounds so nice. Would it work? Let's see. I think I've used that sample before. I thought this was the folder, right? bass line's gonna make me insane. It's so goofy sounding. Hold on, we gotta deal with that. Whoops. Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. Actually sounds really cool. Let's fix this bass line. Ooh. Okay. Let's like add some other sounds because I loaded a bunch. Right? Didn't I get a bunch of claps, I thought? Yeah. Jeez. Abrasive. Yeah, I don't need a message every time. Thank you very much. Hmm? Mr. Goofy Pants over here. Okay, let me see what's up to the chat because I've kind of disappeared for a second. Whoops. My thoughts so far, thinking of this as a, you know, for playing drums specifically, because when I've been playing with the Tonverk, mostly, I've added drums to the patterns, and that's just because I've been doing a demonstration of the unit for my channel. But both, you know, talking about it in a more melodic, polyphonic sense. And now I'm programming, I'm focusing a little bit more on the drums. Maybe we'll even pivot after we finish making this pattern, fleshing this pattern out a little bit. Maybe we'll pivot to like a drum and bass pattern, which I have done on here before, and I think might excel with the subtracks. But my thoughts on it so far is, you know, if you create a workflow that you stick to, then this can totally be your drum machine. I mean, it has all the same, for the most part, it has all the same features that you would expect from a typical standard drum machine. We have micro timing, we have velocity, we have filters, we have panning, we have envelopes, and we have effects, and we have modulation, which we haven't messed with any modulation yet, and we should do that. The modulation on the Tonverk is different a little bit because it offers different kinds of modulation. There's an actual mod envelope, right? Which is, it's just interesting. There's a voice LFO and there's an effects set of LFOs, and then a mod envelope, which affects the voice as well, and not the effects. So it's interesting. And I believe now the mod envelope, I think it can invert. So we could do like a sidechain scenario. Maybe we should add like a little pad in the background and then sidechain it to our kick. Although that brings up the point that I was making earlier where I have these like ghosty type notes. So maybe I bring up a pad and we do the typical sidechain experience where it's not actually a sidechain. It doesn't use the compressor. We use the mod envelope. We could try using the mod envelope. Let's try doing this. Let's look at it, because maybe it can't even be done the way that I want it to be done. Let's make this like 4 pages long and load up a sample. We could even use the multiplayer, and I know there's lots of pretty pads in here. These are the pads I made. Okay. Some of them don't do anything. That's because I renamed them, and this is like early in the beta firmware, and now they're here, but they don't function. I need to go in and delete them. I think that could be nice. It's got some movement already to it. That's kind of cool. I think a C minor chord will probably work. Oh, you guys can't see that. Whoops. Let me see. Program some stuff. Let's go here. Start here, and we'll put in this minor chord. Okay, it doesn't audition that way, but it does audition this way. We'll have it play for I don't know, 2 bars. Nice. All right, and now we'll go have that play for 2 bars, and then we'll throw some reverb and delay on it, and maybe we won't do that, because that will sidechain it, but I think like I'll have to throw it through a bus. Let's see what we can do there. Put it in bus 1. Or we'll make a melodic bus. We'll call it bus 3 and 4 will be for melody, and bus 1 and 2 will be for drums. Maybe that's a good workflow. What would be good on this pad? Degrader. Oh, we have vibrato. Let's turn that sucker up. I want to really hear it really quick. Okay, so for our bus, we go 1, let's just do like 4 on the floor. But will this work if I invert this envelope? Will it do what we want it to do? These notes are really long. Set them to a 16th. Amplifier. It's inverted. Will it do the thing? Oh, it will. Nice. Who needs to do sidechain? We got this. Sounds great. This is a super chill vibe for sure. Let's crank it up a little bit. Oh, we're already cranked up. Never mind. I'm all cranked up, yo. I want this to like bounce a little more. Boom, boom. Does this have to be like over here? Actually, you know what I'd really like is if they added the track swap feature from Digitech 2, Digiton 2 here, because I actually want this to be my bass track. I'm kind of approaching this like I would on the M8 or Digitech 1, anything with 8 tracks, right? To where I go drums and I go melody and I just give them 4, you know, tracks to themselves. I want to copy this track sound, paste it here, and then copy the actual pattern and paste it here, go back here and delete this pattern. I think the beginning part of the pattern is great. It's bouncy. to it. So if I was to go into like this, got this cool performance mode, throw everything into my master track, and we throw just a filter on it, right? Not a low pass filter. We want something with a high pass filter. We got warble. There we go. I'm gonna pull up the spectrum really quick. Let's see if this little dip at the end is actually doing anything. So let's watch that low end when I go to bypass. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. So it does turn out that, well, where am I gonna get just a classic high pass filter? What is the filter bank gonna do here? I guess you could just like, or go into perform mode and do it. Could be an idea. That's an idea. Something, one of those notes, I don't like where it hits. One of the rhythm notes. I think it's this. I think I don't like that. Let's get a little creative here. Maybe on the 4-bar turnaround. Good, page 4. Like choo-choo. this one. Like go up an octave with it. That reverb on there is super sick. Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Let's do that a couple times. Maybe in the very beginning too. Maybe we go like. It's a nice little rhythm. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Having it in the very beginning might be too much. Just copy. Maybe it needs to be like page 1, but here? Maybe in the middle? Ugh. Gonna play in reverse? Yes, we can. Oh, I don't want to play with this fade. Oops. What am I doing? Stop it. Oh my god, I can't stop pressing all the wrong buttons. It's kind of a cool sound in there. Reverse looping. Whoa. That's super cool sounding. Maybe when this one plays, this one doesn't play. And this one plays randomly? Wow, that is really cool. Oh, what? Bring in like more hats. Yeah, something faster. Let's go back to our hats. Maybe we'll have. Oh, that sound is so cool. That wow, wow, wow. That is fun. Oh, it's doing. It just keeps doing it. I'm getting so lucky. We could probably shrink that down to a little sample, I think. Why is there so much metal in the sample? Please. There we go. Also, hopefully these are polyphonic. Oh yeah, it's polyphonic anyway. Transform and do some this velocity randomization. Oh, that's a bit much. modifier to the decay. Just make it random. Slew it. A little bit of depth. Speed this up a little bit. Maybe I just fill the grid then. We have amp and we have velocity, so you have two different modifiers you can use. The velocity modifier will modify the volume, and you can use that random modifier on your trig. We can use this transform modifier, and then you can go in and be more surgical either with the velocity again, or you can just, you know, do a relative volume adjustment on a per subtrack level using your amp, which is not a bad idea at all because everything's locked to this velocity based on what we just did. So good to know as a drum machine. So now I have a little bit of higher, like the straight hats like that, 16th note hats are high energy. Let's also add some swing, shall we? Bring it up to like 60. Should we change our tempo? Seems like kind of a down tempo type vibe. 120 is not even bad. God, I was so used to it at 120. It's hard for me to want to not use 120. Track 8 that we had these ads on, right? Let's see. Let's get a little more creative with that too. Okay, they go in our note edit mode. Let's see what happens here. Whoops. Oh, that is not what I wanted to do. It was very major. Whoa. Use a shaker? That comment stuck out to me, buddy. Auto VO, you're so on point with that. Use a shaker. So freaking right, dude. You are so right. Maybe the hi-hat's a bad idea and the shaker is a good idea. Or let's just do, we have subtracks, like we can do whatever we want. So why not just do both, right? What the hell is going on here? I thought, okay, am I being mental? Get out of this mode, this is confusing. Okay. Alright, we got nothing loaded here, let's put a shaker in. That'd be under perks. Hopefully we have some perks. Hits. That's a nice sound to have in there too. Like we have more subtracks. Let's use that one too. There we go. Right. I don't know if I have any shakers. I have so many shaker samples. Like, give me a break. I just don't have them on my Tonverk. Oh, shaker is such a good idea, though. Maybe it's hidden in the hats. Oh, man. Hey. That could kind of work as a shaker. If I scoot this playhead forward. No, it doesn't. That's silly. I don't think we have a shaker. I don't think I got that sample. Wait. This kick needs to be... I need this kick to, like, fall in a weird spot. Yes. Let's make this, like, 8 bars long. So, and then on page 2, okay. Okay. Eight. Let's do it here. Let's save our project. Fanciful Lance. What the hell? How do I get another random? Function plus 1 and 2 is the layout. What the hell does that mean? Whatever. It's called house. Nice. Okay, so I think it needs another pattern. So we take our pattern, and then on pattern 2, paste it. This clap track is gone. Goodbye. The whole thing. So we hold down. So because it's a subtrack that we're using for this particular one, let's go back to this view so we can see things a little closer. So for this particular track, we've been using a subtrack. So the argument has been is as great as a drum machine, right? So we're using a mixture of one-shot machines and subtrack machines. And this particular one is, we don't need to keep this pinned. This particular track is using a subtrack. That way I could load multiple track sounds. Or is this one not using a subtrack? I'm sorry, the hi-hat one's using a subtrack. It doesn't matter, we just delete this. I'm making an argument for something that doesn't matter. But we're gonna go in and get a new clap. Deep Tech House. I know y'all love Tech House. That's why you're here. All right. Oh, they suck. God, I wish my other sample pack was on here. It's the best. That could work. We just wanted this one to be like our, get to this pattern and just the energy cooks. That sounds really good on some random ones, like on the turnaround maybe. So maybe this happens a little early and we just soak it in Verb. I really wish we had a loop mode on here. That'd be nice. The clap change is pretty big, but it needs to have a lot more changes. But I think we need to continue working on we have a track left? We do. We have track 4. Which I would put like a top line on, but it's so hard to do that without a slice mode. Try this where is that? Transition mode. Direct jump. Nice. So we can go like, and then we're just gonna go drop whenever we want. 1, 2. We love Ibiza Vocal House. Since when did this get so loud? I might have some vocal samples on here because I don't disagree with you. I think that a vocal sample would be good, and we have a track for it. We have track 4. Maybe track 4 is our incidentals track. Let's see. There was something on here that had like, it was down here. Vox hits. That's not gonna work. None of that. Sorry, that was just fun. Okay, no, that's not gonna be there. House Masters. got any vocal samples, my friend. Sorry about Ibiza vocal chop is not happening. You know what's cool is like because this is such a melodic thing, on these tracks, this let's get out of here really quick. There's so many voices and it's polyphonic. There's no reason why we can't just add flourishes, like melodic flourishes in the high end wherever we want. Wait, what page am I on? Let me go here and go. But we don't need this trigger to be that long. Just a quick note. What? How come that played for so long? Did it get carried into that? Oh, did that get programmed in there? There we go. That's right, I did that. That was my fault. That's nice. The little 3-note run sounds pretty good. Maybe we'll copy it and use it again on this one. And wait, I forgot that plays for a really long time. Woo, what's up, man? What things are missing from the Tonverk compared to the DT2 that are important in your opinion? That are in the DT2? Track swap is one, slicing, time stretch. If we're comparing it to a drum machine, track swap, yeah. The keyboard layout when you're doing no edit is really nice. I think the Digitone 2 is a better comparison. I would say what is missing from this compared to the digitone to, and it would be that's a different conversation. I would like every single feature that's in the digitone 2, every single one of them to be added to this device. Every single thing about it. Other than, adding more tracks. I know that's not an option, but everything else, note offset, the note preview layout, scales per track, being able to edit the keyboard mode a little bit more clearly. Let me see, what is it? Let's go into the keyboard mode really quick. I guess you go in here. But usually on the digitone, if you hold function, it lets you adjust whether the keyboard layout works on whichever track you're using. I think that's really useful. Over here, it doesn't do that. So, it would be cool if it had some more drum-centric stuff, like maybe it had the drum synth engine, but without using the FM side of the drum synth engine from the digitone. Maybe it was a drum. What's up, Autovio? Thank you for joining. So there was 2 people who joined the priority member thing. It was really cool. Constant, what's up? Thank you for joining as well. Joining the Primo section on YouTube. I think that stuff could be really cool. But mostly it's about the note editing stuff, right? This is a polyphonic instrument. This is all about that. We're trying to use it as a groove box today and treat it like a drum machine, and we're paying special attention to drums more than the melody. Right now we're making the melody come in because it's like we want the song to not suck, so we're trying to make some fun bouncy house. But this is not, this really isn't supposed to be a drum machine, but it has so much, 70% of what a drum machine has in it anyway. I'd say some of the stuff, maybe like it even has, it's got the retrig, but it doesn't have the same retrig. Actually, let's take a look at that really quick. It's got so much stuff. Fill edit, momentary or latching. That's different too. Like you can, on the Octatrack, you have both fill options simultaneous. And on Digitact, I believe too. If you hold no and press page, it should do a latching fill. Wonder what it does here. We haven't put in a fill. But we do have, a fill. We got an assignment for the fill button. So that's good for drums too. Very good for drums. There's a lot of stuff that's really good for drums. The amplifier, the amplitude envelope is what I'm trying to get at. The amplitude envelope is really, it's different. It seems like there's different sensitivities to the encoders, and there's different values to the amp envelope in respect to the length of a sample. So like when I'm doing a really short decay, it has to be extremely short on the Tonverk versus what it does on the Digitact as far as drums go. So like these really short samples, like you really are tightening it up quite a bit. It seems like it needs to be tighter. That's, at least from my perspective so far, this is a Linux device versus the Digitact, which is running on, I think C, and yeah, I think it's programmed in C. Whatever, this is probably programmed in C or this is programmed in Rust. But regardless to that, it's a Linux OS. So there's just different stuff. The way it's being handled is a little bit different. It seems to be totally smooth. I know there's a lot of companies that are kind of like doing this switch over to Linux right now because it's so much faster than, or it's way more powerful. Linux OS type sound instruments, electronic instruments. We need more of this coffee so I can speak clearly. Linux is a little bit slower when it comes to MIDI. It's got a little higher latency, but you can build your own custom OS much easier on Linux. So you can kind of mitigate that latency. And I believe that's what Electron has done. I don't know. I'm not trying to speak out of turn here because I don't know everything about this device, but I believe that's how it's functioning from what I recall. And anyway, the whole point I'm trying to make is that some of the values they just function differently. So they're not one-to-one with what you expect from your other devices in the Electron format. Moving forward, all their boxes are going to be following this format. So when you go to play on your Digitact and then you play on your Tonverk, if you have them doing similar duties, you're going to experience a little bit of different stuff. It's just going to feel a little different. in terms of how quickly the encoders move and the envelope sizes and shapes to achieve similar sounds on both devices. To me, it's very noticeable, and maybe less noticeable to other people. Strange Strains, my dude, what's up, man? Does note micro timing and step edit work for you? Let's find out. It does. I believe it does. I already tested this, but let's check it out. Let's just copy this pattern and go to another one. Strange Strains. If y'all don't know, it's Electron in the house right here, hanging out. One of the team. Just going to note edit. I thought I had it on track 8. Oh, I haven't pasted the pattern. Duh. Okay. Let's just do it. No, what am I doing? Let's just go to a blank pattern and use one of my existing instruments from track 8, copy, pattern, blank, paste, mute. What the hell? Track 8, copy track, pattern 4, paste track. Okay, there we go. Okay. Actually, let's get a different sound. That's something a little... like a piano. That'll be really obvious, actually. Okay. Okay. I didn't even put a step down, or I did. Some of this stuff is a little strange. Like what I just had to do just now, like there's got to be a faster way to do it. Okay, so I go in here, if I hold this, micro timing, no step. It doesn't look like it does work. I thought it did. So, oh wait, you're not even able to see. My bad. Okay, Mario. No. Micro timing doesn't let me move the steps. I thought it did let you do this. We're in poly mode. I thought it worked at one point. I swear to God it worked at one point. I really want it to work. I still, like, Mario, pass this along to whoever. But I think it needs the menu from the Digatone too. The note edit menu from the Digatone too. When I'm in, like, this step edit mode. No, I mean, that's not necessarily... But yes. Yes, no, the option. Maybe it's like a down option. Maybe it's an up option. Press an up arrow or something. I would love to see the notes. The little keyboard and just their value, C sharp, D. Like, because I'm fast at reading those notes and just like knowing the chord shape. I know you can see it here, but this is just an abstract to me. So I would love, I mean, pass that along if you want. But it doesn't look like it works, dude. Looks like micro timing does not work on a per step basis. Works great as a drum machine. Like, I guess, you know, I'm just thinking about this. I'm like, I like what we wrote today. Like, I know it sounded goofy when we started because we were just kind of throwing stuff in, and you know, it takes a minute for you to like find stuff that sounds good to you. And I think this sounds good. Like this, you know, this could use some more work, but it sounds good. And I gotta say, like, it always works fine as a drum machine. There's nothing wrong with this as a drum machine. I think there's still more to work out in terms of like what's the perfect workflow, and we're being limited back down to 8 tracks, but then taking advantage of the subtracks can mitigate the lack of 16 tracks, but I wouldn't say it's perfect. But it does help. It does help. So, seems to be a good drum machine. The long and short of it, yeah, why not? You don't need to use this as a polyphonic thing at all. You could just use it as a drum machine. And I think if we got like kind of nasty, like I dig our pattern, but like what if we didn't do this kind of pattern? What if we did a different kind of pattern? You know? And I did this, I've mucked about with these ideas where already where you use like, you know, for instance, like a subtrack and yeah, like this acoustic subtrack would be cool. And we did this, it's cool, you can arpeggiate it. This is insane. Turn this on. We can totally go, let's like, should we make some IDM really quick? Let's just do it. Let's go like 180. But we need a different subtrack sound, I think. Yes. Okay, cool. Let's just go... I don't know, maybe we'll make it 8 bars long, so let's just do this really quick. Oh wait, what? What? What's going on? Why is that happening? What is happening? Oh, each track. Drat. We gotta do this. Hold on. Drat. Now we're talking. Can I affect every one of these tracks at the same time? Wouldn't that be cool though? It's gotta be something cooler to use. Maybe a comb filter, perhaps? Wait. Out of here. Snare is just like needs some help, I think. Also, let me see about these retrigs real quick. What's going on? Okay, I want to try something crazy. Okay. Okay, hold on. Should be on the SuperTrack. There it is. Actually, I'm going to get rid of these really quick. There we go. Okay. Where is it? All right, just turn this off. There's 2 pages. Where's that sound? Why can't I find it? mean, we could get in some weird stuff right there. The sample is so far to the right. Some cool ideas in there. There's this one retriggering note that's retriggering so fast it's creating a tone, and I cannot find it. It's definitely on this track. I just want to hear my other pattern for a second, because I was going in some really weird territory there. Trying to do some experimental ideas, throwing a bunch of chords on subtracks, and then a bunch of drums on the subtracks, of course, seeing what would happen. I think it needs to be a lot more coordinated than what I'm doing. I have to really go in and dial in that every chord works together, and right now I'm kind of just guessing with the fine tune, which is not a fun experience, because there's no trig note on your subtracks, which is a sad thing, but this pattern sounds great. I think it turned out good. Oh, there's crazy stuff here, which I think could turn into something cool if I really like finessed it for a while. But I'm pretty happy with this, to be honest. P-Lock Supertrack. Yeah, this one turned out pretty solid. I honestly could see myself just like working this one for a while. Okay, check it out. So like, I think that we've already talked about this before, but Tonverk and an Octatrack are a mega pairing, because you can send out 4 of your tracks to inputs A and B on your Octatrack, use a specific performance effect for those specific tracks. So like you can have your drums go out, tracks 1 through 4 go out 1 and 2. You can have tracks 5 through 8 go out 3 and 4 and send that into 3 and 4 in your Octatrack with its own specific tracks. I already have a bunch of like performance templates already designed to do this. So for me, this is just like literally write music on Tonverk, plug it into Octatrack and go. And that's a really interesting idea. And I really want to explore that further. I think what I want to do is write like some like minimal dub, deep house, kind of like we were doing this, like this just kind of like a lo-fi house vibe. I think if I actually threw this on this master track, if we threw a warble on the master track, we would be right into lo-fi girl, anime, whatever. You know, that little crispy noise. Look, there's like there shouldn't be a delay there. There is. Maybe it's because of that. No. A little bit of warbly. Now we got lo-fi house. Are you dating? Oh, you removed that. Realist Wizard, what's up? You always have great comments. We got lo-fi house. I don't really like how it's panning my track left and right, so maybe we keep it centered. I just want that pitch on it. There we go. And then we get another effect, right? We only get one effect on the master. We get we could just send every track or some other tracks like the drums. Let's go here and send the drums into their own. Let's process these drums a little bit. We got bus 1. And you go to bus 2. Or you also go to bus 1. Let's go to bus 1. Right? We don't have anything going on here. Throw a compressor on there, so why not? I don't need to compress so much of the low end. No sidechain. Oh, I guess the sidechain is bus in. Okay. Ignoring the low end. Oh well. is this doing? Wow, that's like incredibly high pass. But it's still even this. Okay. Trying to see if you could use this as like an EQ for your drum bus. It's kind of weird though. Just an EQ would be nice, I think. Let's do maybe dirt shaper. Master Effects have kind of done less favors for me than favors. Okay, I don't want my kick to go through this, that's why. There we go. I want more high end on my chord track. I think I need a different chord, I guess, but not bad. Well, like I said earlier, I've concluded the Tonverk is a great drum machine. Despite Electron's goal of making it more of an exploratory polyphonic synthesizer experience, it's actually pretty great for drums. And it's only missing a couple of things that the Digitact has. And then plus the subtracks, which have a lot of creativity that you can have when you pair it with the arpeggiator. So it seems like we got another drum machine, you know, which is cool. So I'm excited to have this as a drum machine and try more of these solo experiments like we're doing now, where we just play with just the Tonverk and see what we can do. I do think this is a great companion to a drum machine, of course. Better than anything else. I would say like a really cool combo would be to pair it with like a TR-1000. That is what I consider to be the super combo. That's my dog. Somebody just knocked on my door. They should know better. They're forbidden. God, now my dog's not going to stop barking. My dog's not knocking. Anyway. All right, cool. We've been going at it for 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is a very, very long time. I'm going to jump, Had a really great time. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Thank you for the tips and just generally hanging out as a community and chatting. And thank you for the paid subscriptions to the channel for the priority members. We got 2 new priority members today, which is really cool. If you want to support this channel, you can visit patreon.com/EZBOT. Forgive my demon lord dog out there. Oh, she really is barking. Hey! Get over here. Get back in here. Back to your couch. There's a couch in here where the dog likes to leisure. All right, cool. If you want to support this channel, you can visit patreon.com/EZBOT and join on a paid tier. That will support this channel directly. If you'd like to just be a part of the channel, you can subscribe, leave comments, and hang out, and join the Discord. It's completely free. There'll be a link to join the Discord in the comments section down below. If you want to get your hands on a Tonverk, I have affiliate links that are also in the YouTube description. That will cost you nothing extra. It'll be delivered to you from a fantastic synth shop and one of the synth shops that I'm working with. And it will also support this channel. There's all these options to support this channel. And I'd love nothing more than to have your support and have you be a part of the community. So once again, thank you for hanging out. This has been the Electron Tonverk, testing it out as a drum machine, making some house and then some experimental IDM-ish type stuff, which we didn't get too far on because it got weird quick. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. I'll see you all on the next stream.